Trudeau's now in third place. He is, he is about as popular as a root canal.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. For today's video, I want to take a look at a interview that Pierre and his wife just did with a more local network in Toronto, and kind of the state of media currently, because we're starting to see a bit of a shift in the mainstream media, at least in my opinion, in regards of what they're willing to cover and show to the public that might not paint Liberals and NDP in the best light. Now, most notably from what I've seen are the recent committee hearings that the Conservatives have been trying to put forward, and that's with Randy Boissonnault and his other Randy scandal, which the media has now covered.
We have been non-operational.
Stephen Anderson blames this. He told the Parliamentary Ethics Committee global health imports shut down after a fire was set at its Edmonton warehouse in 2022. Police investigated but did not charge anyone.
There has been no payments since 2022, since the incident that occurred in Edmonton.
Because there's been no business?
The business hasn't been operating since 2022.
But that statement and others he made about GHI, the company he co-owned with Employment Minister Randy Boissonnault until last month, contradict public records. Global News found evidence the company continued to buy and sell medical supplies after the fire and bid on government contracts. Anyone who deliberately attempts to mislead a committee could be held in contempt of Parliament.
This is the type of person that Justin Trudeau's employment minister chose to associate himself with, and only looked to distance himself once that relationship became public, and it is a commentary on his poor judgment.
In June, Global News first reported on texts Anderson sent in September that shows him consulting with someone named Randy. Boissonnault was tourism minister at the time. Ethics laws prohibit ministers from operating businesses. Global News has now obtained new texts from the same period that place someone named Randy in Vancouver when Boissonnault was there for a cabinet retreat. Across 2 days, Anderson mentions Randy 9 times in messages to a client.
Who was the Randy that was in Vancouver?
As I've told you, Mr. Chairman, Randy was not involved after September of 2021, and it was an autocorrect.
Barrett said Anderson failed to provide records by deadline, so the committee is preparing a report to be tabled in the fall.
We have a responsibility to hold all parties accountable for the veracity of the information they're providing.
Anderson did not respond to Global News' questions. In rare cases, the House can publicly discipline someone found in contempt, like with the ArriveCan scandal in April.
I admonish you.
Boissonnault's office denied he was involved in GHI business after he was re-elected, and accused Anderson of using his name without his consent.
I've worked with the Ethics Commissioner, and twice now the Commissioner has indicated that he has no concerns, and I'm not the person in those texts.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has not commented, despite calls for Boissonnault's removal from cabinet.
No comment is a strong comment.
Boissonnault has been called back to testify again when Parliament resumes in the fall.
And the other one is on that huge train wreck that happened on Wednesday that we covered on the channel, of the Women's Committee, where the Liberal NDP got together and decided to switch the conversation from violence against women to abortion and just shut out the witnesses that were there.
A sexual assault survivor is demanding an apology from a Liberal MP she says hijacked a meeting about violence against women. As CTV's Annie Berger-Oliver reports, the woman was so upset she stormed out of the parliamentary session in tears.
When Kate Alexander came to Ottawa, she expected to be sharing personal stories about the impact of violent crimes against women.
Anna, what's your point of order?
Instead, she turned her back on a parliamentary committee, then walked out.
We are leaving. We will not ever.
Your mic is not on and no one...
Feeling silenced and hurt.
I won't allow myself or other survivors to be abused, and that's why I chose to walk out, because we need to take a stand against this.
Alexander got a call from the House of Commons last Friday.
Welcome to meeting number 118 of the House
asking her to speak at a rare summer meeting Wednesday.
I'm supposed to be dead. My ex was beating me. All 6'3", approximately 250 pounds of him, because he couldn't find his car keys.
But the focus quickly shifted away from the witnesses when the Liberals pushed to debate abortion rights.
We have refrained from putting motions like this because of collegiality,
But at this moment, we're not, and I hope we can do a vote immediately on this motion, and therefore we can get back to our witnesses.
The Liberals and NDP accuse the Conservatives of putting together the agenda in haste.
I have spent my whole life fighting for these issues, and I wasn't even given a chance to put witnesses on.
This is something we've never done. We do not use victims and survivors' trauma to try to score political points in this committee.
The Conservatives disagree with that narrative, arguing the summer meeting was spurred by new data showing an increase in violent crimes.
The Liberal and the NDP have completely shut out these witnesses from testifying, and it's absolutely brutal what has happened here.
To Alexander, the way MPs handled the topic, heartbreaking.
The conversation be hijacked and dismantled the way that it was so severely insulting. And it was intentional.
Tonight, Anita Vandenbeld says she regrets the distress that this meeting caused. As for the abortion vote she brought up, Morella, it passed.
And after seeing all this kind of stuff on the media, I was wondering, is this just because it's a slow news cycle? They're really grasping to try to get the audience to tune in. What might be the cause of this? And then I started to remember, well, they do know how Pierre feels about it. And in this interview that I was talking about, she asked him again about his feelings on the mainstream media, and this is what he had to say.
And as a multilingual broadcaster, I mean, multiculturalism is at the core of what we do. And historically, companies like ours have been underfunded and we have been undervalued. And I quote something that you've said in the past, that you would like to restore balance for small, local, and independent voices in the media that have been crushed. So I'm curious, how do you plan to achieve this? And what specifically do you value in Canadian media?
What I value in Canadian media is freedom of the press, true freedom of the press. That means the government does not control what you say, how you say it, what values you and information you share with your audiences. It also means that people compete, news outlets compete for eyeballs and earlobes. They don't have apportioned shares of the market. They get the market based on the quality of the product they put out, just like a supermarket or a restaurant would. I would get rid of the censorship laws, C11, C63, C18, the latter of which is blocking you from Instagram, Facebook, and possibly other platforms, so you could get back on those platforms. I would also make sure that the necessary advertising that the government does do gets over to independent media. It shouldn't be concentrated with Bell-controlled or Chorus or Rogers, the big oligarchs. They should not dominate it. They should get next to nothing of it, frankly. And the current government is basically trying to help the big corporate-controlled, state-backed media. I don't want to do that. I want to get rid of the favors for the big guys and allow for true entrepreneurial, independent, free market media.
And, you know, it might sound crazy that that's his view on it, but that's how it should be. And Pierre, from what I've seen, is the only one that is willing to engage with more independent media sources. We've seen recently he's had Rebel News at a lot of his press conferences, or he's willing to at least have them there and ask questions.
Good morning, Mr. Poilievre. David Menzies with Rebel News.
Hello. My first question might not be the easiest for a politician to answer, but this is Rebel News, and I'm Drea Humphrey. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
He just had Andrew Lawton with the True North in London.
Thank you. Next question. Good morning. Andrew Lawton, True North.
He also had another independent London news network there ask him some questions. And this is something we really don't ever see with the other party leaders, especially Jagmeet. He openly says that he doesn't talk to Rebel News. On multiple different occasions, he said this.
Watch for yourself.
Hi.
Hi, just have one question.
Okay, sorry. Which
Sorry? We're with Rebel News.
Sorry, we don't talk to Rebel News.
Why don't you speak to Rebel News? You know, Rebel News viewership is on the rise right now. CBC viewership is downhill, so it kind of seems like Canadians seem to care a lot more about Rebel News coverage and seeking accountability from politicians. Why won't you speak to us?
Sorry. Thank you very much, though. Thank you.
My name's Lincoln J. I work with Rebel News. I just have a quick question for you.
We don't talk to Rebel News.
Really quick question. Do you think all these foreign workers are driving down wages for working class Canadians? Quick question.
Sorry, man. I would chat with you normally, but I don't support Rebel News. Sorry, man.
Quick question.
Thank you for your time. We're gonna. Do you want to take a photo?
You didn't answer my question last time I saw you, but I'll ask it again, sir.
We'll take it.
Why do you continue to support?
If you were with Rebel Newsman, I would love to chat with you. You're a very charming fellow, but I don't.
Why do you continue to support?
And outside of the most recent ambush, if you want to call it that, on the beach of Tofino, Trudeau really regiments his questions. He'll go on his friends' podcasts.
Prime Minister Trudeau, welcome to the Real Talk studio. Welcome to Alberta.
Glad to be here in person. It's nice to talk on the phone, but it's better to be here in person.
And I decided this year, instead of calling you Prime Minister, I'm going to call you Justin, because Justin and I have been friends, just for this introduction, have been friends for a very, very long time.
And it's not only Trudeau, because you see it with his other Liberal members. They're scared, essentially, to talk to, I guess, alternative media, where they might get some hard-hitting questions. More conservative media outlets, or right-wing, as they like to paint them. And it's very unfortunate, because it's even gotten to the point where we're seeing some individuals like Rebel News, David Menzies, get arrested just for trying to talk to Chrystia Freeland.
Freeland, how come the IRGC is not a terrorist group? Why is your government supporting Islamo-Nazis? What? Excuse me. What are you doing?
You're under arrest for assault.
What, sir?
Why are you pushing me? You're under arrest for assault.
Who are you?
You're under arrest for assault.
Police, you're under arrest. How am I under arrest? You bumped into me.
You pushed into me.
I was just scrubbing. I got my credentials here, and you just bumped into me. So excuse
Police,
me.
You're under arrest.
What is your name and your badge?
Come over here.
Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, it started to get me think about why the media is starting to put a lot more of this stuff that Canadians are interested on their platforms. And it's not to say that they never did. I just feel like I wasn't seeing it as often as I am now. And I say it's probably due to the fact that Pierre has been very vocal about how he feels about the CBC.
What about the CBC? Yes, we will be defunding the CBC.
And a lot of these outlets are concerned that they, I guess, potentially could be up on the chopping block next. Now, with all that being said, the last part of this interview that I did want to touch upon was the question that was posed to Pierre about youth and youth voting for Conservatives. Now, we've seen recently Trudeau and the Liberal government going forward on generational fairness. They're focusing on the young generation. Trudeau's openly admitted that he screwed them over.
So for me, leaning on young people and bringing them in 2015 was a hugely important part of what shaped my entry into politics. And the irony is now, 10 years later, I look at those young people who got involved with me the first time. They're now in their late 20s, and they're saying, I can't afford a home. Like, I thought you were supposed to be fixing this. And
yet, as I mentioned, the question posed to Pierre is, how come you are starting to become a lot more popular with the youth? And this was his response.
Amazing. And now I think recently, online especially, but in mainstream media as well, it is kind of frowned upon for young people to vote Conservative. I think that the Conservative Party is associated with an older, wealthier, whiter crowd. And I would love to know, what are you doing to appeal to those younger Canadians, to show them that you do care about what they care about, whether it's climate change or other topics that are important to them?
Well, right now, in truth, we're crushing Trudeau with youth. If you look at the polling data, Trudeau is now in third place. He is, he is about as popular as a root canal with voters under the age of 40. And I'm in first place among that group. And the reason why is obvious. I'm the only one who gives you the hope of ever owning a home. I mean, Trudeau's destroyed. Like, I'll give you an example. I got a guy in my riding who said to me, he has the same job as his mother had, literally in the same office building in downtown Ottawa. And yet, he cannot even come close to affording the same house that she bought. So he's living in the basement of that house. And she bought that house when she was in her 20s. So he's saying, wait a sec here, why is it before Trudeau, my mom with this job could buy a house, but now it's not possible? And they look around and say, Jagmeet Singh is offering exactly what Trudeau is offering. So who does that leave? The one guy who's actually delivered affordable homes when he was minister, who offers a common sense plan to reward hard work. You know, there's a misconception that young people just want a freebie from the government. That's not true. A freebie might be temporarily satisfying, but it's not fulfilling as a life. Work is about not just about having a living, it's about having a life. And young people want to work. They want to start businesses. They want to achieve something. They want to get married and have kids. And I'm the only leader that offers a common sense plan that will allow them to do that. And that is why I will win the youth vote. And that is why Trudeau is despised among Canada's youth.
I mean, the guy ain't wrong. You got to admit that, right? He is not wrong about anything that he said there. But as always, I'd love to hear from you guys. So let me know what you thought about all this in the comment section below. As always, thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate all the subscribers, especially the members. Thank you guys so much. It's fantastic to see the community grow. Hope you all have a fantastic weekend, especially a long weekend if you do get the Monday off. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.